by Robinson Jeffers, who was one of the ancestors of the deep ecology movement. He was a poet from California who wrote some of his best poetry in the 1920s, which was all about his love of nature. And it was so popular that he was on the cover of Time magazine as quite a young man. But he became disillusioned and disenchanted with the human destruction of nature that was taking place, and his philosophy turned into what he called inhumanism, where he criticised humanism for putting humanity at the centre all of the time instead of recognising that we are just a plain member of the biota, that we are just another one of the 10 million species who inhabit the world together and who all have been evolving since the beginning of time. So by the time he wrote this poem in 1949, he'd been utterly abandoned and ignored, it's interesting because he's been rediscovered by the deep ecology movement, although of course deep ecology hadn't been thought of when he was writing. So 1949, the Korean War was about to begin, and Robinson Jeffers wrote this poem. It's a dialogue between arrogant humanity and extinction. The name of the poem is Passenger Pigeons, and every American school child would know what this poem is about from hearing the title, because passenger pigeons are an icon in America. They were once the most numerous bird in the Americas. The early explorers told stories of the sky being that dark for hours after hour as a single flock passed overhead. And no one could imagine that they could possibly be destroyed. And in the mid-19th century, a mechanised industry began to slaughter them and ship their train loads of their corpses to markets in Chicago and New York, where they were the only meat that was cheap enough for slaves and the poor to eat. And the last passenger pigeon, named Martha, died in the Cincinnati Zoo in 1937. Passenger pigeons. Slowly, the passenger pigeons increased. Then, suddenly, their numbers became enormous. They would flatten 10 miles of forest when they flew down to roost, and the cloud of their rising eclipsed the dawns. They became too many. They are all dead. Not one is left. And the American bison, their hordes would hide a prairie from horizon to horizon, great heads and storm cloud shoulders, a torrent of life. How many are left? For a time, for a few years, their bones turned dark prairies white. You, death, you watch for these things, these explosions of life. They're your food. They make your feasts. But turn those great rolling eyes away from humanity. Those grossly craving black eyes. It is true we increase. A man from Britain landing in Gaul when Rome had fallen, he journeyed 14 days through that beautiful, rich land, the orchards and rivers and the looted villas. He reports that he saw no living man. But now we fill up the gaps. In spite of wars and famines and pestilences, we are quite suddenly 3 billion people. Our bones too would make wide prairies white. A beautiful snow of unburied bones. Bones that have twitched and quivered in nights of love. Bones that have shaken with laughter and hung slack in sorrow. Coward bones worn out with trembling. Strong bones broken on the rack. Broad bones gnarled with hard labour, and the sweet bones and the little bones of sweet young children. And the white empty skulls, little carved ivory wine jugs that used to contain love and thought and passion and
and insane delirium where now not even worms dwell. Respect humanity, death, these shameless black eyes of yours. It is not necessary to take all at once. Besides, you cannot do it. We are too powerful. We are men, not pigeons. You may take the old and helpless, the useless, the cancer-bitten and the tender young, but the human race has still history to make. For look now at our achievements. We have bridled the cloud leaper lightning, a lion whipped by a man to carry our messages and work our will. We have snatched the live thunderbolt out of God's hand. That was little, and last year, for now, we have taken the primal elements, creation and annihilation. We make new atoms such as God never saw. We can explode these atoms and annul the fragments, nothing left but pure energy. We shall use it in peace and war. Very clever, he answered in his thin piping voice, cruel and a eunuch. Roll those idiot black eyes of yours on the field beasts, not on intelligent man. We are not in your order. You watched the dinosaurs grow into horror. They had been efts in the ditches and presently became enormous, with heaving flanks and tearing teeth, plated with armour. Nothing could stand against them. Nothing but you, death, and they died. You watched the saber-toothed tigers grow those enormous fangs, unnecessary as our sciences. And presently they died. You have their bones in the oil pits and layer rock. You will not have ours. With pain and labour we have bought intelligence. We have counted the stars and half understood them. We have watched the farther galaxies fleeing away from us, wild herds of panic horses, or else a trick of distance deceived the prison. We can outfly falcons and eagles and meteors, faster than sound, higher than the nourishing air. We have enormous privilege. We do not fear you. We have invented the jet plane and the death bomb and the cross of Christ. Oh, he said, surely you'll live forever. Hiding his mouth with his hand, grinning like a skull. What could exterminate you? Thank you, Robinson Jeffers.